Come in, get cozy, and leave the busy world behind. Do you ever find yourself lying in bed, the day's thoughts swirling like a storm in your mind? You close your eyes, but sleep feels just out of reach. You've tried everything, but stillness seems elusive. What if the gentlest path to sleep wasn't about forcing silence, but about being gently carried away? One of the oldest, most powerful, and wonderful ways to cross into dreamland is through the art of storytelling. Listening to a calming, beautifully told story doesn't just distract you, it guides your mind on a peaceful journey away from anxiety and towards a state of soft, receptive rest. It's a conscious act of self-care, a signal to your whole being that it's time to unwind, to let go, and to be transported. Welcome to Bohemian Sisters Bedtime Stories. Tonight I have two Christmas-themed stories for you. One is romantic and the other is action-driven. I'm not going to give the plot away, so close your eyes and let the stories drift you away to a wonderful deep sleep. The title of this story is called The Almost Normal Holiday. Enjoy. Chapter 1, The Cancellation. The text came through as Leo was already halfway to the airport. Flight 472 to Denver. Cancelled. He stood on the moving walkway, his giant duffel bag knocking into the businessman behind him, and felt the familiar, comfortable dread of holiday travel disasters. His meticulously planned proposal, Christmas Eve, frozen lake, family heirloom ring, was dissolving like sugar in hot cocoa. Sienna, his girlfriend of 3 years, was waiting at a remote mountain cabin, accessible only by a 4-hour drive from Denver and a snowmobile the last mile. And he was stuck in Chicago O'Hare as the mother of all blizzards painted the entire Midwest white. "You have got to be kidding me," came a voice to his left. Leo turned. A woman in her late 20s with wild dark curls escaping a woolen beanie was staring at her phone with the same look of apocalyptic dismay. She wore hiking boots, a puffy coat covered in pins from national parks, and an expression of pure battle readiness. "Denver," Leo ventured. "The one and only," she groaned. "My sister's bachelorette weekend is officially a wash. There are 5 women in sequined reindeer antlers waiting for me in a hot tub in Vail, and I'm going to miss it because of—" She gestured violently at the floor-to-ceiling windows, showing a wall of white. Atmospheric vengeance. "Proposal," Leo said, surprising himself with the confession. "Was going to propose. Tonight, on a frozen lake. It's a whole thing." The woman's face transformed from stormy to deeply, genuinely sympathetic. "Oh no, that's tragic. I'm Marigold, by the way. Mari." Leo. They stood together in the river of stranded travelers, a little island of shared despair. Then, over the terminal's PA system, a crackly announcement. "We are attempting to reroute some Denver passengers through smaller regional airports. Please see gate B17 if you are interested in alternative routing to the Rocky Mountain region." Leo and Mari locked eyes. It was the kind of look 2 people give each other before they decide to rob a bank. "Alternative routing," Mari said, a spark lighting in her eyes. "It's worth a shot," Leo said, hefting his duffel. At gate B17, Chaos reigned. A harried airline agent was shouting over the crowd. "We have a puddle jumper going to Gunnison. Then it's a 2-hour drive to most ski areas. We have 3 seats left." Leo and Mari pushed forward, waving their phones like lifelines. They got the last 2 seats. As they were getting their new boarding passes, a voice piped up behind them. "Excuse me, did you say 2 seats, not 3? They turned. A man in an immaculate cashmere coat, holding a leather weekender that probably cost more than Leo's car, looked genuinely distressed. He had the poised elegance of a ballet dancer and the anxious energy of a hummingbird. "I'm afraid it's just the 2, sir," the agent said. The man's shoulders slumped. "My best friend's holiday wedding. In Telluride. I'm the officiant. I have the script and the rings." Something about the way he said it, the profound melodramatic weight, made Mari grin. She looked at Leo, then at the stranger. "What's your name?" "Julian." "Julian, we're going to Gunnison. You want to come with us and figure it out from there? Strength in numbers?" Julian blinked, then a brilliant, grateful smile spread across his face. "I would be forever in your debt. I have a platinum card and a debilitating fear of being alone in crisis." Chapter 2. The Mismatched Convoy. The puddle jumper was a tiny plane that shuddered violently for the entire 2-hour flight. They landed in Gunnison to a winter wonderland, a quieter, deeper snow than the city chaos they'd left. The rental car counter had one vehicle left, a monstrous cherry-red Ford Expedition with 4-wheel drive. "It's the Snow Beast 3000, Julian read from the brochure, his nose wrinkling. "It smells vaguely of wet dog and hope." "It's our chariot," Mari declared, already claiming the driver's seat. "Leo, you're navigating. Julian, you're in charge of morale and snacks." Their plan was simple, insane, and born of desperation. Mari's sister had sent her the cabin address for the Vale bachelorette party. Sienna had sent Leo the cabin address for his proposal. A quick map consultation showed they were only about an hour apart in the same remote mountain valley. They would stick together, help each other get to their destinations, and become holiday legends. They piled into the Snow Beast. Just as Mari was turning the key, a frantic knocking came on the passenger window. A young woman, no older than 22, with bright pink hair peeking out from under a trapper hat, was waving her arms. She rolled down the window. "Please, are you heading toward Crested Butte? My ride just abandoned me." Her voice was panicked. "My brother's snowplow broke down, and I'm supposed to be at the Frosty Moose Bar by 5. It's my first night as a bartender. I'll lose the job." In the back seat, Julian leaned forward. "The Frosty Moose? Darling, that's practically on our way. Get in. I can't have you missing your debut. The show must go on." And so, Pippa, the aspiring mixologist, joined the convoy, squeezing into the back with her oversized backpack. They hadn't gone 5 miles before they saw the flashing lights. A small sedan was hopelessly ditched in a deep snowbank on the side of the road. A man in a thick flannel jacket was scooping snow away from the tires with his hands. Mari pulled over. "Need help?" Leo called out. The man stood up, brushing snow off his jeans. He had a kind, weathered face and the calm demeanor of someone who knew his way around a crisis. "Appreciate it. I've got chains, but no shovel. Name's Hank. was trying to get to my sister's cabin before the storm got worse. Overestimated my Subaru. Hank, it turned out, was a local forest ranger, and his sister's cabin, the same valley. He knew the back roads, the conditions of the lakes, and most importantly, he had a portable shovel and a bag of rock salt. "You're an angel sent by the winter gods," Mari said, as Hank climbed in, making them a party of 5. The Snow Beast 3000 was now officially a holiday rescue mission. Chapter 3: The Frozen Lake and the Unplanned Pause. With Hank's guidance, they navigated the winding, snow-packed mountain roads. The world outside was a study in monochrome beauty. White snow, gray sky, dark green pines, weighed down with icy burdens. "Turn up here," Hank said, pointing to an almost invisible side road. "It's a shortcut, passes right by Blue Spruce Lake. If you want to see your frozen lake, Leo, now's the time. The main road ahead is getting worse." Leo's heart leapt into his throat. The lake, his plan. But it was all wrong. He was in a car with 4 strangers, not under the stars with Sienna. Still, a morbid curiosity pulled at him. "Yeah, okay, let's see it." Mari turned, and the beast crunched down a narrow lane, emerging into a breathtaking clearing. Blue Spruce Lake was a perfect flat circle of snow-covered ice, framed by towering pines. It was utterly silent and profoundly beautiful. "It's perfect," Leo whispered, his proposal speech echoing uselessly in his head. "It's also not fully frozen at the center," Hank said gently, bursting the bubble. "See that darker patch? That's sketchy ice. Your plan was romantic, son, but potentially fatal. Nature's way of telling you to propose indoors, like a sensible person." The group erupted into laughter, breaking the solemn mood. Julian clutched his heart. Drama, intrigue, a brush with icy death. This is better than the wedding. Suddenly, a terrible thump, thump, thump shook the car. Mari pulled over. The rear passenger side tire was not just flat. It looked defeated. A collective groan went up. They were in the middle of nowhere, at a frozen lake, in a blizzard, with a flat tire. But this was their team now. Hank and Leo got to work with the Jack and Spare, a comically small donut tire. Mari and Pippa used the collapsible shovel to clear space. Julian, true to his word, handled morale. He passed around fancy chocolate bars from his weekender, played dramatic classical music from his phone, Tchaikovsky's Winter Dreams, for ambiance, and provided a running, witty commentary. "Leo, darling, more torque. Think of it as wringing the neck of your travel woes. Mari, your shoveling form is exquisite, very ice queen, reclaiming her throne." As they worked, laughing and shivering, something shifted. The shared disaster was becoming a shared adventure. They were no longer just stranded individuals. They were a unit. Chapter 4: The Frosty Moose and the Confession. The donut tire meant they had to crawl at 20 miles per hour. By the time they rolled into the tiny, picturesque town of Snowshoe, it was dark, and Pippa was 2 hours late for her job. The Frosty Moose Bar was a log cabin bursting with light, warmth, and the sound of a bluegrass Christmas song. They tumbled inside, a blast of cold air following them, looking like a group of Yeti hunters. The bar manager, a large woman named Bev, with a kind smile, took one look at Pippa's terrified face and then at her bedraggled entourage. Let me guess. The storm. We're her transport and support crew, Julian announced, sweeping in. She is an artiste, delayed by acts of God and faulty rubber. We accept full responsibility and will compensate you with our patronage. Bev laughed. Get behind the bar, kid. Your trial by fire starts now. She then looked at the rest of them, covered in snow and exhaustion. First round is on the house for the rescue squad. They found a big table near the crackling fireplace. As they shed layers and ordered burgers and beers, the warmth seeped into their bones, and so did a sense of surreal camaraderie. Hank told stories of lost hikers and mischievous bears. Pippa, gaining confidence, made them experimental cocktails she called Blizzard Busters, peppermint schnapps, hot cocoa, and a candy cane stirrer. Julian delighted the entire bar by giving an impromptu, hilarious reading of his friend's wedding script, playing all the parts. Mari turned to Leo, her cheeks flushed from the fire. So, the proposal. What were you going to say? Leo swirled his beer. The usual stuff, I guess. How she makes me feel steady. How I can't imagine my future without her. Pretty standard. It sounds lovely, Mari said softly. It also sounds, Julian interjected, leaning in, like you're describing a very reliable lawnmower. Steady? Standard? Darling, you're proposing on a frozen lake. Where's the passion? The madness? You're the unexpected avalanche that buried my sensible life, and I've never been happier. Of it all? The table went quiet. Leo stared at Julian, then at his own hands. The truth, cold and clear as the lake ice, hit him. The proposal had been a beautiful, pressure-filled plan, but the most alive he'd felt all day was here, in this chaos, with these people, especially arguing with Mari over the map, laughing with her as they shoveled snow. I think, Leo said slowly, I was proposing to an idea. The idea of a perfect holiday moment. Not the messy, complicated, real person. Mari's eyes held his. There was no pity in them, just understanding. Hank raised his glass. Well, the night's not over, and the real thing is always messier and better than the idea. Chapter 5. The Cabin and the Real Thing. With Pippa safely at her new job and Hank calling his sister to say he'd arrive in the morning, the core trio, Leo, Mari, and Julian, pressed on in the limping snow beast. Hank had drawn them a foolproof map on a napkin. They dropped Julian at a stunning, snow-covered lodge in Telluride. He emerged from the car, then turned back, his eyes uncharacteristically misty. My dearest chaos companions, he said. This was the most unnormal, perfect holiday travel story I will ever tell. You saved me. Break a leg with your proposals and bachelorettes. He blew them a dramatic kiss and vanished into the grand lobby. Now it was just Leo and Mari. The silence in the car was different, charged, comfortable. Mari's cabin came first. It was a gorgeous A-frame house with lights strung on the porch, from which the sounds of a very enthusiastic rendition of All I Want for Christmas Is You spilled into the night. Mari didn't move. She looked at the cabin, then at Leo. The sequined reindeer antlers await. You could go in, Leo said. Your mission is accomplished. My mission, she said, turning to him, got rerouted about the same time my flight did. She took a deep breath. My sister's bachelorette. It's a lot. It's 3 days of forced fun and pretending I love glitter body spray. I only agreed because I didn't have a better offer for the holidays. But today, this messed up, ridiculous, wonderful day, this was a better offer. Leo's heart hammered against his ribs. My cabin is another mile up this road. It has a fireplace, and I'm pretty sure a very confused and worried girlfriend. I have to go. I have to not propose. Mari nodded, a sad, understanding smile on her face. Of course. Go. Do the right thing. Leo got out, retrieved his duffel from the back. He walked to her window. She rolled it down. But, he said, the words tumbling out, the roads are terrible. That donut tire won't last. You shouldn't drive back to town tonight. And Hank said this storm is getting worse. My cabin, it's big, apparently. There's probably a couch or a floor. You could wait out the storm as my stranded travel companion. A slow, brilliant smile spread across Mari's face, rivaling the Christmas lights on the cabin behind her. Are you offering me shelter, Leo? I'm offering you the next chapter of the disaster, he said, grinning. Strength in numbers, right? She put the snow beast in park, killed the engine, and grabbed her bag. Strength in numbers. Hands numb with more than just cold, Leo texted Sienna. Made it to the valley. Car broke down. At the cabin with a stranded fellow traveler. Can we talk in the morning? The reply was immediate and relieved. Thank God you're safe. Of course. See you then. He and Mari trudged the last mile through the deep, silent snow, their path lit by the beam of his phone. His cabin, a cozy, smaller log structure, was dark and quiet. They stumbled inside, shedding snow and layers by the light of a single bulb. They built a fire in the hearth, its light dancing on their faces. They made terrible instant coffee and sat on the rug, wrapped in blankets, watching the flames. So, Mari said, her voice soft, no frozen lake. No frozen lake, Leo agreed. No perfect speech. Just a flat tire, a punk rock bartender, a forest ranger, a dramatic officiant, and me, she finished. And you, he said, looking at her. The firelight caught the gold flecks in her brown eyes, the laugh lines from a day spent smiling despite everything. She wasn't steady or standard. She was a whirlwind in a woolly hat. She was the unexpected avalanche. He didn't have a ring. He didn't have a plan. All he had was the real, messy, perfect truth of the moment. Mari, he said, this was the best, worst day of my life. She laughed, a warm, rich sound that filled the cabin. Mine too. Outside, the snow continued to fall, blanketing the woods, the frozen lake, the roads, and the 2 sets of tracks leading to the cabin. It was a holy night, silent and deep, but inside, by the fire, there was warmth and laughter, and the beginning of a story that was so much better than any plan could ever be. The end. The Glass Shogun, a Tokyo Standoff. December 25th, 11:47 p.m. Roppongi Hills, Tokyo. The champagne flute felt alien in Kenji Tanaka's hand. Around him, the 52nd floor penthouse of the Mori Tower thrummed with a low, expensive hum. Tokyo's skyline glittered through the floor-to-ceiling bulletproof glass like a spilled chest of cybernetic diamonds. It was Christmas, but the only nods to the season were the tasteful, single silver baubles hanging from the minimalist steel beams and the forced joviality of Japan's political and financial elite. Kenji, a detective from the gritty Shinjuku precinct, was a fish out of water, his calloused hands and the ghost of a street food yakitori stain on his coat sleeve betraying him. He was here for his estranged sister, Mari, who worked as the personal aide to Prime Minister Koji Sato. Mari, sleek in a tailored dress, had begged him to come. For family, she'd said. He'd come for one reason: to apologize for a year of silence since their father's funeral. The apology remained lodged in his throat. His eyes tracked the Prime Minister's daughter, Yumi Sato. 20, with a rebellious streak evidenced by the subtle lavender tips in her otherwise perfect black hair, she was holding court with a group of young finance types, looking as bored as Kenji felt. The PM himself, a man with the polished demeanor of a career diplomat, was making rounds, a fortress of security detail in dark suits orbiting him. Kenji slipped away to a balcony, the winter air a slap after the sterile warmth inside. He lit a cigarette, a habit he'd promised to quit. Below, the city pulsed. He was stubbing it out when the world changed. The first sign was the lights, the sprawling, iconic illumination of Tokyo Tower and the surrounding skyscrapers winked out in a perfect, expanding circle, plunging vast swathes of the city into darkness. A synchronized gasp rose from the party-goers inside. Then the penthouse lights died, replaced a heartbeat later by the dim red glow of emergency backups. Power grid failure, nothing to worry about, a smooth voice announced. It wasn't a technician. A man in the impeccable black uniform of the building's own security force stood by the main elevator bank, a compact submachine gun held low. He wasn't alone. 12 others materialized from service doors and the stairwell, moving with silent, lethal precision. They wore no masks, their faces coldly professional. The leader stepped forward. He was tall, with a shaved head and eyes the color of basalt. He spoke in fluent, unaccented Japanese. "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kaito. The building is now under the control of the Kami no Hagoromo, the Cloak of God. Please remain calm and assemble in the center of the room." Panic flared but was brutally extinguished when one of Kaito's men pistol-whipped a protesting investment banker to the marble floor. The sound of cracking bone was sickeningly loud. Kenji, hidden in the shadow of the balcony curtain, froze. His service pistol, a compact Sig Sauer P230, was a comforting weight against his ankle, but against this many, it was a death sentence. He watched, detective's mind clicking. They bypassed the building's state-of-the-art security with insider knowledge. They moved like former special forces, likely JSDF, but the name Cloak of God rang no bells. Their goal became clear when Kaito strode to the Prime Minister. "Your daughter, Prime Minister Sato, now." Yumi was pulled from her group. The PM's face was a mask of fury and fear. What is the meaning of this? A simple transaction, Kaito said. You will order the release of 13 individuals currently held in black sites by the Public Security Intelligence Agency, the disappeared, as we call them. You have until dawn on New Year's Eve, 6 days from now. Fail, and we broadcast her execution live to the nation from this, your symbol of New Japan. He gestured to the dark city. The communications blackout is local. We have a satellite uplink. They began herding the hostages into the sealed, windowless server room, a digital panic room. Kenji saw his chance. As the last guard's back turned, he slid over the balcony railing, not down, but sideways, onto a narrow maintenance ledge, his heart hammering against his ribs. The winter wind clawed at him. He edged along, fingers numb, until he found an unlocked service hatch for the HVAC system. Inside the dusty, cramped ducts, Kenji became a ghost. He used his cigarette lighter to see, mapping the layout from memory of the building schematics Mari had shown him in a failed attempt at small talk. He heard the terrorists below, their radio chatter crisp. They were professionals, but they'd made one mistake. They'd assumed all threats were outside or disarmed inside. His first objective was communication. The building's landlines and cell jammers were active, but he remembered a hard line in a janitorial closet on the 50th floor, used for old-style fire alarms. He dropped down, shimmied through a ceiling panel, and found it. The call to his precinct went to voicemail. The chaos outside was total. He left a terse message. Mori Tower. Hostages. Professional team. They want the disappeared. Leader is Kaito. A footstep outside. Kenji melted into a shadow as a sentry passed. He needed a weapon better than his pistol. In a storage room, he found his arsenal. A fire axe, a heavy-duty cordless drill, and a janitor's cart full of industrial chemicals. December 26th, 3 a.m. Kenji struck for the first time. A lone guard was patrolling the 51st floor executive lounge. Using a length of cable from the drill, Kenji fashioned a silent garrote from the ceiling ducts, disabling the man and taking his MP5 and radio. He hid the body in a laundry chute. Now he could hear them. Perimeter secure. No police movement. They're setting up a cordon, but they're blind. Kaito's voice, cool and in control. Kenji's next move was sabotage. He accessed the building's secondary environmental controls, rerouting vents in the server room where hostages were held. Using ammonia and bleach from the cart, he created a minor chlorine gas leak, not enough to harm, but enough to cause panic and coughing. As the terrorists rushed to investigate the malfunction, he slipped into the now guardless armory they'd established in a conference room, swapping out live MP5 magazines for blanks he'd fashioned from emptied rounds and refilled with paper pulp. December 27th. Dawn. Kenji was tired, bruised and bleeding from a shallow cut on his arm, gained from a close encounter with a patrol. But he'd become a phantom in the machine, picking them off one by one. A man crushed by a falling server rack Kenji had rigged. Another electrocuted by a tempered espresso machine. He left a message for Kaito, scrawled in soap on a mirror. You have the building. I have the dark. Kaito's composure began to crack. Over the radio, his voice tightened. Find this rat. He is one man. Kenji learned their true motive from a forced, hushed conversation he overheard between Kaito and a younger terrorist. The disappeared were a smokescreen. Kaito's brother was among them, but the real target was a data server in the building's core, containing financial records that would prove the PM's party was bankrolled by the very cult Kaito supposedly represented. A false flag to collapse the government in disgrace. Yumi's kidnapping was the trigger. The data was the bomb. December 30th, 11 p.m. The siege was national news. The self-defense forces were poised to storm the building at dawn on the 31st, the deadline. Kenji knew a frontal assault would be a bloodbath. He had to end it now. He'd whittled Kaito's men down to 5, plus Kaito himself. Using his knowledge of the building's seismic dampening system, he planned his finale. He lured the remaining terrorists to the building's sky lobby on the 49th floor by triggering a false alarm on the server room door. There, amidst the suspended glass walkways and towering indoor bamboo forest, he turned the environment against them. He severed the cables on a giant suspended kinetic sculpture, sending it crashing as a diversion. He used the fire axe to shatter the pressurized seals on sections of the floor-to-ceiling windows. The howling winter wind became a weapon, knocking men off balance. In the chaotic gale, Kenji engaged them, a close-quarters shootout in the bamboo grove, using the dense stalks for cover. A brutal hand-to-hand fight on a glass walkway, where he used the drill to shatter the pane beneath a terrorist's feet. It was messy, painful, and efficient. Finally, it was just him and Kaito, facing each other in the ruined sky lobby, the wind screaming through broken windows. Yumi was locked in a separate, glass-walled meeting room behind them. "You're just a policeman," Kaito spat, blood on his lip, raising a katana he'd taken from the PM's personal collection. "And you're just a thief with a manifesto," Kenji rasped, hefting his fire axe. "The data server. That's the real play, isn't it?" Kaito's eyes widened, then hardened. He charged. The fight was a clash of ancient and modern, the singing steel of the katana against the brutal carbon steel of the axe. Kenji was stronger, fueled by desperation. Kaito was faster, more skilled. The katana sliced Kenji's thigh. Kenji's axe shattered a display case, spraying Kaito with glass. With a final grunting heave, Kenji dodged a lethal swing and slammed the flat of the axe into Kaito's wrist, sending the katana clattering away. He followed with a crushing tackle, driving the terrorist onto the glass wall of the meeting room. It cracked into a spider web with a sound like a gunshot. Through the glass, Yumi's terrified eyes met Kenji's. He saw Kaito's hand fumble for a detonator on his belt. The data. He was going to trigger a purge, sending it all into the digital void. Kenji made a choice. He reared back and drove his elbow into the cracked glass again. It exploded inward. He shoved Kaito through the gap, away from Yumi, onto the floor of the meeting room. Before Kaito could rise, Kenji grabbed the fallen katana and hurled it like a javelin. It wasn't a killing blow. It punched through the main processing unit of the data server array against the far wall, spearing circuits and drives in a shower of sparks. Kaito screamed in rage, fumbling with the detonator. It clicked uselessly. The data was already fried. The building's lights flickered. then blazed back to life as the local jammer failed. Sirens wailed from the streets below. December 31st, 11:58 p.m., 2 minutes to the new year. Kenji stood on the same balcony where he'd smoked his cigarette 6 days ago. His body was a tapestry of cuts and bruises, his leg bandaged. Behind him, the penthouse was a swarm of JSDF commandos and medics. The hostages were free, Yumi reunited with her weeping father. Mari had found Kenji, her words a blur of tears, and relief he couldn't fully process yet. The Prime Minister approached him, his dignity restored, but his eyes hollow. Detective Tanaka, the nation owes you a debt. The things Kaito said about the data. The server was damaged in the fight, Kenji said, his voice flat, not meeting the PM's gaze. He'd seen the files before destroying them. The truth was, a poison he chose, for now, to bury. Some wars weren't won with axes or guns. A total loss. The PM nodded, a silent understanding passing between them. One of shame, the other of grim discretion. Outside, the countdown to the new year began across the city, a wave of light and sound. 10, 9, 8. Tokyo Tower, now re-illuminated, stood as a bright red sentinel. 3, 2, 1. Fireworks erupted, painting the sky in brilliant, silent chrysanthemums of light. The year of terror was over. A new one began. Kenji Tanaka, the ghost in the machine, lit a fresh cigarette, ignoring the pain in his ribs, and watched the ashes fall into the glittering, resurrected city below. His fight was over, but he was no longer just a policeman. He was the man who had held the line in the dark between Christmas and hope.